the next speaker is exactly that. He's been trained by one of the best in the world. He's joined with what I think is one of the best practices in the world. He's a partner with the New Jersey Orthopedic Institute, Vince McInerney. They're doing amazing work in the city of Patterson and other institutions locally. But the Jackals are fortunate to have that team with us. And we have major league doctor care within our technically minor league world. So I'm pleased to introduce Dr. Anthony Scillia.
I just really wanted to thank Greg and the Jackals for putting a great event together, and all our speakers, Brooks, Tony, Coach Shepard, Isaac, really for giving us a lot of perspective. And I think in all of medicine, at least in my experience, this is dealing with baseball players is really like case in point, like the art of medicine. And we'll go through some of these technical things, but if anyone has any questions and wants to chime in on things, I think this is really all of sports medicine. The way I was trained at Dr. James Andrews Fellowship and the way we practice, it's really focused on communication between the athletic trainers, the coaches, the athlete's family, physical therapists, to really keep the athlete healthy, and then when they are injured, to deal with that adversity. And I know Isaac was definitely touching on it. A lot of time retirement from sport is due to injury, and it's really those athletes that are good at handling adversity that really we have most confidence in getting back. And I think Tony brought in team psychologist, because the mental aspect of dealing with injury is really just as important as the physical. So my job, what I focus on every day of my life is trying to create the most technically best possible surgery I could do to get an athlete back on the field, but also to work with the team, try to prevent injuries, prevent a surgery when we identify them early. And my biggest advice to athletes is, don't put your head in the sand when you get an injury or you feel like something's wrong, is to communicate as quickly as possible to the trainers and the coaches, to let them know, don't feel like this is all going to work against you. They're there to help you and to help prevent this, become a bigger problem. And I think that like showing you schematically what it looks like here is this ligament, all that force. If your mechanics are not absolutely perfect for you, then you get this abnormal stretch through here, and then you develop these little bone spurs in the back of the elbow from the extension forces and the compression on the outside of the elbow. So these are the common elbow injuries that unfortunately Coach Shepard used to hear about, is developing these little bone spurs in the back. We call this fancy term valgus extension overload. Tommy John, obviously, injury, which is what we're worried about now. Tony set up a bunch of ways in which we can evaluate this ligament for it being stretched out, basically. So what our concern is not always the big injury that blows out the ligament, but if it's getting micro trauma, getting stretched out, getting, like Brooks was saying, getting forearm tightness. We think that this is like the precursor to the full injury. And conservative treatment is one of the things we're really trying to study again now, and all of these elbow injuries are treated conservatively. And I think this goes into the wide variation that Brooks was talking about, is you can have some athletes that have all of these injuries and still through it and can get back, and some have even partial tears and can't get back. So really, I don't think that this is a clear, rigid guideline for conservative treatment. In my opinion, if an athlete is progressing to get back on the field, then we really want to encourage them. And I think the use of MRI, Andrews will always say that if you want a reason to operate on a pitcher, MRI their elbow, MRI their shoulder. I'm sure if we MRI your elbow that has had never any symptoms, we're throwing from that many years, we're going to see something wrong with it. So really MRI, we try not to make our decisions based off of imaging alone. We try to make our decisions based off of the athlete and how they feel and how they're able to play. If you have a dead arm and can't throw, then the reason we're getting MRI is to try to figure out what surgery we can do to get you back on the field, not necessarily if you need surgery or not. So the way MRIs are used in combine scenarios, I think these are all subjects of debate.
Thanks for being here today. On behalf of the speakers, I'd like to thank our sponsors, New Jersey Jackals, the Museum and Learning Center, and Johnson & Johnson. We're thrilled to have done this first series, and most importantly, thank you to New Jersey Orthopedic Institute. They are our docs, they're world class, and we're thrilled to have you. Thank you.